I bought a game for my computer that wouldn't run. And I called the manufacturer, and the manufacturer said, I'm sorry, that copy protection apparently doesn't work right with that computer. So I took the software back, and they said, I'm sorry, you've opened the package. So we got together, and we cracked the protection so that I could play the game on the computer that they told me it would run on.
But see, there were other people out there cracking programs before us. We weren't the first. We just ended up being the best.
You just, yeah, you think?
It was such a challenge all the time, you know, get the new software, go in, crack it. I mean, my head was stuck in coding all the time, you know. I was thinking, you know, zeros and ones and hexadecimal and, you know, opcodes, operands and all that stuff. I was nonstop.
Back then, the language of choice for the platform, because they were so slow, was assembly and machine language. So it was difficult to learn, but once you learned it, reading it was, you know, straightforward, really.
I picked it up so quickly, just with assembler and all that, and I was able to write all kinds of, you know, cool routines and programs, and, you know, then getting on the BBSs. And
now, at first it was just, you know, oh, well, there's a new game out. Well, there's a cracked version, there's a non-cracked version. Well, how do you crack them? Well, you open up the manual on machine language on Apple II, and then find there's 3 others on the market, and then you read about this thing on somebody's bulletin board, and next thing you know, you're sort of an amateur.
It started with just neighborhood kids bringing me software, you know, the regular retail box software from the store. Then I'd crack it.
A lot of people knew how to copy software, but not a lot of people knew how to actually crack it. And you had a lot of people in town that could crack it. If you could crack it, then everybody called you bored because you're the first to have it. And so it just kept growing and growing that way. I think that's how I saw it.
I can't recall anything other than maybe a couple of games being all that challenging. Although I know the software manufacturers spent an enormous amount of time and resources trying to copy protect this stuff, but to no avail.
Really, for us, it was getting the game as fast as we possibly could. If that meant overnighting the game from, you know, Datasoft or Broderbund or whatever, we would do that, and then when we'd get it, we'd have it cracked by morning. You know, that was our kind of thing. And then we could post on our bulletin board that we had the game, and that was, if you could do that, you were first to town. You're the king of the hill. That was the whole deal.
Serious competition developed between different groups. These groups would compete with each other, and then with me as an individual, in getting out, you know, these new wares and who can get it out first. Because ultimately, whoever got it out first, their version and their name by extension would be the one that dominated. And if somebody else tried to trade their later crack into the system, it would simply be overwhelmed by the avalanche of whoever got it out first. They started the avalanche.
We're using adult words now, but we were proud of the brand we were creating. I mean, that was a large part of it too.
Oh, MPG was a brand, that's for sure.
Yeah,
we didn't call it that back then, but yeah, it was a brand.
That's the best way to describe it. It was something that we were contributing towards and trying to build fame on.
I mean, the real sense of the word brand is you brand your horse, you know, with a stick.
Yeah.
We were branding those wares with our logo, you know.
Trying to create an identity.
Yep. You didn't care about the game so much anymore. It was more about being first.
Competition.
Yeah.
Classic hacking mentality race.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were literally hungry. Literally. I mean, if somebody heard or knew that I had a, you know, new program I was working to crack, I was working on it, they knew. And I'd get calls nonstop. Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? You know, can it go? And then it would just explode. It would go onto the BBSs in the download area. It would get traded right and left and absolutely everywhere.
We got a game. It was Buck Rogers. Remember when Buck Rogers, the TV show, came out? Mm-hmm. So right after that, there was an Apple II game called Buck Rogers. Wow. We got the game, and John was cracking it, and in the code was a message. If you're trying to crack this game, call this phone number. And we had the game a day or two, not even, you know, and so John called him and said, hey, is this Buck? Because that's what it said, call and ask for Buck. And the guy on the other end was like, no way, you got it already?
Stealing software isn't as personal as it used to be.
There's always the issue that, you know, there's no difference between copying a piece of software and walking into a retail store and walking out with the box without paying for it. I mean, that's what they always tell you is. But it doesn't seem close to home when you do it.
But we're just a bunch of goofy kids, you know, and so The software at the time was $39.95 or less.
And when you're a kid and you don't have any money and you want stuff and it's there and it's free and there's very little to no repercussions that could possibly happen to you by being the small-time software copying.
There was hundreds of games, hundreds and hundreds of games. And you download a game, you play it for a while, and you throw it away. And it wasn't even an option that you would have ever bought those. I remember thinking to myself, who would buy this? I remember thought that quite a bit.
I don't know how you could look at it, and the laws were so goofy at that time that nothing applied. There wasn't really anything too illegal about it. It might have been a copyright violation, but
We never sold any of the stuff we made. That was a rule, almost an unwritten rule that we had. Never. There were pirate groups out there that would get it from us and then try to sell it to their friends. We hated that.
Yeah, that's a sin.
I don't think we really realized. I mean, we were fairly young at the time, and it was such an easy thing to do. It wasn't like stealing something at the store and walking out and, thinking I've done something wrong. It was, I can get a copy of that game just by doing, step ABC. Great, I'll do it because I want to get that game.
Nobody ever thinks they're going to get caught, or nobody would ever commit a crime. You're never going to be the one who gets caught. It's somebody else. So there's some fear of it, but there was also, when you're 15 years old, you pretty much feel that you're invincible.
They can't bust everybody, you know what I mean? And that's sort of everybody's mentality, like they think they're untouchable.
We heard rumors of boards being shut down. And it was just rumors because I didn't know anybody personally. I couldn't pick up the phone and call them. That this board was taken down by the sheriff's department last night.
My co-sysup's job was to run fucking hacker all day and get me as many codes as he wants. I didn't want to run it because I didn't want to get in trouble.
We were hiding stuff in cereal boxes so that if they went through our trash, they wouldn't find it because it's inside the cereal box. And there was more than one occasion where we were sure we had been busted. Right. They were saying, oh yeah, and you guys are next. They know about you. And we were terrified. And we were kids. We didn't know that they can't come knocking at our door for what we had said.
At least at the time, so.
And he used to give me all these codes every day. We had a whole system where he'd put the codes into this area in my bulletin board. My bulletin board would use the codes. And then one day the police came to his house. They confiscated his computer, his monitor, all his printers, all this stuff. The worst part wasn't that he lost all of his computer stuff because of it. The worst part was that, his parents, he was 13, and his parents were like, what the hell are you doing?
And I remember one night, us burning. I mean, because we lived out in the country, we had a burn barrel. Right. So we went out and we grabbed everything we had. We grabbed all our printouts. Mm-hmm. We grabbed everything that was, because we had heard one of our friends got busted. And we took it outside. And my parents, they had to have known something was up. It was, 11 o'clock at night, and we're out there burning stuff. And they're
stolen everything.
And I just keep thinking, my parents sitting there reading the book. What are the kids doing? Oh, they're out there burning evidence. What do you think they're doing? And they just didn't even, no red flags at all.
And we didn't ever think it was a really big deal, and I don't think it was a big deal. I mean, maybe it was, $12 worth of calls a week or something like that. But it was a big enough deal that when they tried to really crack down on that kind of thing, they cracked down on it.